Rebwete James mutabani wa Christopher Kawunde omu ku balwanyi mu ggombolola yaffe y'e Makulubita abaana be baawa emidaali. Kye njogera ku bannaffe abo tebalina musango kubanga si be baba bakola abakulu bye baakola.
Tetwenenya kubasekerera kubanga ne bakitaabu batuyisa bubi, bayisa bajjajjaffe bubi, boogera bubi.
Abaana nabo basobola okwefula ab'ekitaalu okusinziira abazadde baabwe bakola nabo ne bakifula nti balina okweragira kwabo abaana abalala be babeera bali nabo mu society.
Eri tumwine yavaayo n'ayogera ebigambo ebitakwatagana ku social media n'alagira abantu ba wansi bakubwa amasasi. Ekintu ekyo tekyali kituufu. Weewaawo ye kati bwe twogerera mugenzi naye abaana be tebasaanidde kunyenyezebwa olw'ensonga eyo kuba bo tebaaliyo ng'akola kiki ng'ayogera ebigambo ebyesittaza eggwanga.
Children of revolutionaries, we are a minority. Now there you've touched home also. We are a minority group. And we are children without rights. But we are not supposed to complain and say we have no rights. I'll give you an example, just to build on the perceptions that you are talking about children of revolutionaries. There are many perceptions that people have of children of revolutionaries that are not true. And there are things that a child of a revolutionary goes through that are also not easy. I'm going to give an example. One time, I was invited to speak University of East London on this same issue of human sciences, and I was promoting my book, Seasons of African Holistic Development, to be used as a reference book in the University of East London in the Department of Community Development Studies. When I got there, I was given a microphone. Now they had a very big hall in that university. I think it can actually sit about 1,000 people. From what I could see, because I came in time just for my presentation, the whole hall was packed. There were many Ugandans within that. The minute they introduced Asha Birabwa Kirunda, Chive Ginger. In fact, the announcer just said Asha Chive Ginger. Bottles started flying at me on the stage. People started shouting, others throwing chairs and saying she should not speak, get off the... It was the first-hand experience I got as a daughter of a revolutionary. She will not speak. And the reason they were saying I should not speak is because my father was a revolutionary. And during that time, they were saying they are protesting against the regime and the government. And they have to do it by attacking me. Unless I was to give an apology, to say that I am sorry for the atrocities that they felt government was doing on the people in Uganda. Imagine I'm in London. I've gone in as a specialist, like how I was talking. I told myself, you know, there is something people underestimate about a revolutionary's child. They always think you are silver spoon, you're weak, you're simple. However soft we may look, we are not that soft. Someone would have expected me to cry and say, why is this? This is unfair, get out and all this. First and foremost, I had paid my own ticket to get there. All the people who were invited even from Uganda, they had this convention pay for their ticket. But my revolutionary father insisted I pay my way. So I was housing myself in a hotel, and here I was, I have to speak and go, and they are wasting my time. On top of that, they are abusing me, where it is okay to harass me for something that I have no clue about, because my father is my father. It is unheard of. And he has a mouth and he can speak for himself. But I am a revolutionary child. Yes, I am privileged. I was born to privilege. And this privilege that I'm talking about is an education. I studied something which is only being relevant now, which was unheard of because my father was in the position that he was. But with great privilege also comes specific obligations. The obligation to educate people with what you know. The responsibility that you can no longer say, I don't know, because you know. And I'm here as a specialist to speak and give my point of view. Now you will sit down because I was invited to come here and you listen to me. Although I'm a child of a revolutionary. But that was firsthand how I faced it. Back here at home in Uganda, because I'm a child of a revolutionary, I can have a house help at home who will come and cook me food when I'm not around or I'm sick and I need help. And they'll put in soil. You know why? Because these children, let them also eat soil. Because we also grew up eating soil, and let them see how we grew up. But I'm paying her. I'm not even cheating her of any shilling. And I haven't even called her that. Because as children of revolutionaries, we are sacrificial lambs. We don't have rights. We are not supposed to be human beings. And we are judged for any slight thing that we do. And we must accept, because our fathers are revolutionaries, they have a right to be fathers to everybody else except their own children. And yet we face the circumstances of these things. But children of our revolutionaries, we are not children. We are not human beings. And then they begin saying, as a child of a revolutionaries, I had to study a very tough course, and now I've taken time to internalize it and even be able to explain it. But the time I took it, my father was taking me and I was at war with him. Why do you do this? He mentored me enough to help me go back to further studies and all that, up to the time when I've reached a point of even getting, and now I'm even into my PhD. But before that, the reason he was telling me is, find a problem you can solve. That will be your job, because you will not get a job. And then I said, what? Nobody will give you as my child a job and you're comfortable there. Because if they give you a job because of me, you're going to reach a point where if I'm not around, you will not have a job. A child of a revolutionary, you live in fear. Your fathers live long enough if they live. But all your heart is out. Every day you know you're having a parent who's not going to come home. And every day they are reminding you, tomorrow I'll not be around, tomorrow I'll not be around, tomorrow I'll not be around. You have to live with that tension. But the person who's around now, you have to understand as you go back and serve the people. But the people don't give you any rights back. This has been, there is something people don't understand. And whether we like it or not, children of our revolutionaries, yes, we have privilege. The privilege is of a good education. The most educated people, now I have a model. It is not called any name apart from the village economic movement. But it is on the ground. You'll find it there. Why am I able to do this? Because my revolutionary father, who was a foresight, was able to take me and educate me. That is the privilege. But it came with the obligation of actually implementing this change in this community. Which if I hadn't done, there are many government programs that haven't been able to do the same impact that I have done in Sese in a short time. But because the Sese community was welcoming, did not judge me, I was able to blend and I was able to serve. Yes, we are privileged, but only in as far as education is concerned. But we are some of the people who are educated in the best universities in the world. Because our fathers can afford to go ask for scholarship, it's not always about money. And because they stand for certain things, they say, let my children be here, hoping that you'll come back home and serve as they've served. But at what cost? To a community that doesn't recognize you? I'll be honest, I rarely go to my friends who are non-revolutionary background to their burials and funerals. Because you know what will happen? The people in the funerals will try to make you feel, now that you are at their occasion, now they need to show you, now a child of a revolutionary, you've come to their wedding or their occasion, now they are going to show you how big they are. Who wants to be felt like that? You are an enemy. You know, you're not secure within community. You'll go to a lumbe. They won't give you food. They will say, don't eat. Because we don't know what it is. Those ones are, you haven't even told them anything, even if you can eat. So the issue of a child of a revolutionary, and I'll give an example. You may find Idi Amin's son is not given a visa to certain countries because his father was Idi Amin. But what has he got to do with it? So the issue of the child of the revolutionaries, we are the massacres and the sacrificial lamb. And then on top of that, let us imagine that my father hadn't educated me here and I didn't blend. Where else would I get a job? If my father is in a prominent office, then I have to work with him. because I will not be safe anyway, and nobody else is going to give me a job because they will just say this one. And it is an insult to anybody who's educated that you're going to give them a job because of their father. And then the community complains. You know what? They are the ones in big positions, but if they had an idea and they have to implement it in the community, would you let them? Because now you're saying abana babagaga tebakwata mutaka. Is it a crime? If I'm touching the ground and I'm touching the soil and I'm touching maggots and also working along with the people and you earning from it, I think society has reached a place where everybody has a part to play. Let us respect each other and work together and try to make our communities and our lives better by acknowledging what everybody can bring to the table to help all of us live harmoniously. But the issue of the child of a revolutionary is an issue that should be talked about. Sese Islands had this demography. Like any science, and since you make formulas to explain phenomenon and event, you have to put the history of a place into account. Sese Islands was infested with sese flies. People had to vacate. When they had to vacate, after they had sprayed the whole area, Sese Islands developed its own flora, fauna, bacteria afresh. When it developed that, the only problem is it has lumesandesoids, but it had a lot of forest vegetation. So my initial concern with Sese was all about to find out what microbial-organisms are actually living in Sese. Can they really help us and form a form of living? Can we find them there? The Sese community, as we were trying to investigate this, they already had Masinya. This is palm beetle. And they eat palm beetle. We came to realize that people in Sese live, Sese has two types. Those that were the indigenous, who even never left, very few never left. They didn't die of the Sese fly infestation. And they lived longer and they didn't use medicine. And we discovered, look, these guys eat insects. These are microbial organisms. Palm beetle also has larvae, similar to black soldier fly. And they used to have palms that grow on the island. So you go and you check, next to that palm beetle, there was another insect which grew. The black soldier fly is not imported. It was there on the island, meaning we could use it because these two were twins in terms of what we wanted to do. So Sese became prime basically because of that. We could demonstrate an entire human science as an economic system, a soil support structure system, all at the same time. But Sese again got a problem. There came a time when development had to come to Sese because there was nothing, no news, no nothing to talk about in Sese apart from forest. And the people who came from nowhere because they lived in temporary shelter, Bidiko came. They took off around 10,000 hectares of growing palm plantations. Palm oil growing industry became too much. Now we could not study this black soldier fly in isolation. We had to think of now what do we do? Because this is now that we are coming up with. We get an issue of the amount of waste that is produced. We begin talking to the communities about the importance of human science, how it is an economic system, how it is a health system, how it is a soil structure support system, how it is an environmental support system, a planet conservation system. They listen to us. And COPGT comes up and says, okay, COPGT is Kalangala Oil Palm Growers Trust. It is composed of 2,063 members. They say, let us come together and we try to manage this waste. Because remember, this is Lake Victoria. They say these are 84 islands. It's not one island, they are 84. On the other side, we have Tanzania. Many people share this Lake Victoria. And now we had so many trees cut down, which was an influence on the ecosystem. Meaning we had to think of a way of preserving some of these ecosystem by actually bringing it home because it was friendly, and the whole world also discovered that it is already friendly. It can improve the households. It can. Now, what did we have to use? We had to look into the issue of how to manage waste so that we do not affect the aqua life, because palm waste is one of the largest world pollutants. The air of the palm waste takes up a lot of oxygen. It's a lot of carbon dioxide. It takes up a lot of oxygen, causing suffocation even with the fish in the water and the aqua life. So we were like, to manage this waste, as it goes on, it will become more. But to manage this waste, what must we do? COPGT volunteered as a community social responsibility and said, let this go to the community. Let them use this waste so that we are able to have a holistic system that looks at health, looks at soil health, because soil health is where your food comes from. It is now which is seen as the best medicine even for you. I'm not against conventional medicine. It is also there, but this also has its part to play where the other fails. And it is an economic system. It also helps households. Unfortunately, in as much as that is COPGT's view, Oil Palm Uganda is hesitant about giving this and helping the community to actually do this. But COPGT is working with us, hand in hand with other community players, to try and make this a reality to the community. And we are also happy that so far we have about 2,400 families. When I say those are families and people that this project has been able to touch so far. The socio-economic village movement is actually a borrowed kind of language. The parents of this, or godfathers, are South Korea. My education bias is in the Asian countries. This is where I got trained. And my studying of human sciences, it is a science which is comprehensive. Hopefully I'll have time to elaborate even more so that we understand more. Came from one of their presidents who wanted to eradicate poverty within South Korea. By the way, by 1970, South Korea had a GDP that was less than that of Uganda. But today, it is termed a developed country, while Uganda is termed not developed. So we ought to emulate a few things that come from there, and we are able to use them. But the main principles that come out of this are the same principles that are within the science. I told you the two branches. Within the science of human survival and support, where bacteria, viruses, protozoa play a part. Now here, we get all human beings within a community to play a part within their own development. Just translating a system of microbial-organisms here, translating it into human life. Because that is successful, we use the same mechanism. But the principles are diligence, cooperation, and self-help. Self-help is helping yourself. The stick which is in your house, you see, this is a proverb, is the one that will hit the snake in your house. You won't call the neighbor to pick and then come, and by the time he comes, it would have taken you off already, you know? So these are the three principles of the village movement, but they are borrowed from South Korean examples: self-help, cooperation, and diligence. Help yourself. In Uganda these days, there's something called government ekuyambe, where you think that your responsibility to grow, to become better, is another's job. This is telling you, omugo, ogukuba, omusota, an enemy in your house, should come from your house. So it is on self-help, diligence, and cooperation. The mind behind the economic village movement is Asha. Comes with the shape up of human sciences. Human sciences is my bias of education as a foundation. And it looks at two kinds of systems. One that brought the human being into existence. This that brought the human being into existence started with, is a science which brought protozoa, bacteria, They made a revolution with the plant, created a form of algae, which helped vegetation to start coming on the planet Earth. We are talking about how human beings came to live in this world. And as they made this revolution, it's a plant, protozoa, bacteria, fungi, together with the plant revolution, enabled the human beings to live in this world by creating oxygen and making sure that as the human being comes in place, the human being gives them carbon dioxide, they get oxygen. This is how the evolution of life on the planet Earth began. So my science looks at that, and it looks at, the human science looks at the perspective that in order to survive, we need the integrity of the soil, which is soil structure. We need the integrity of bacteria. We need the integrity of fungus. We need the integrity of plants. We need the integrity of the aqua, which is the water bodies that are surrounding us. So we see a system where decomposed matter becomes the life support system of a human being, beginning with the creation of the air that we breathe, which is oxygen. If the plant and the plant revolution and fungus and bacteria hadn't happened in the first place, this is in a layman's language, there would be no life on Earth. Now we come to converge. We begin to get decomposed matter and make commodities, processed commodities out of that. We use the mind. This is the diverging point from the natural one. We use the mind to invent, to make technology, industries, to dig up other factors of decomposed matter, which are gold, petroleum, to try and make a market economy. Basing on that mind and the creation, we have economics, we have the governance of resources of this economics that is created. We have markets. Now in this system, what makes life is not oxygen. These two human systems go together. Now this is not oxygen. What makes it is GDP, gross national product, gross domestic product, and how much money a person has. And a person is determined to have a high life, to be more advanced, for as long as their state of invention and technology is high. So the state of invention is seen as development, is seen as human life survival and sustenance. So we reached a point where we invent, going back to this other system and market economies. And in fact, worlds are divided basing on how much state of invention and technology they have, not basing on the human element. The human element remained with the other air-breathing system. Now we're on artificial goods, processed goods, technology, state of invention, money. This is what is happening now. And so mine is to see the science and my study that makes the two merge and makes them relevant. Can this be a complete holistic system? Can this be away from this? And my study is, and what I studied is, we've come to realize that the issues of invention have created more human problems. And this is where the human science comes from. Because we have found that there are doctors and scholars that you also do, you encounter in this human science that is my specialty, who have actually seen that in as much as we've manufactured everything, we've even manufactured medicine. Because bacteria, fungus, protozoa, viruses, we are keeping our health okay. But now when we converge from that system, we have to make a fake, which supports the human life, but it is a fake. And we've ended up with problems that don't put the human element at the forefront of development issues. And now, humanity has become a problem. In terms of the economy, today what drives the economy is disease. I'll give you an example. In 2021, in the United States, it used to be before these years that the army budget was the one which was the highest in the whole national budget. But as of 2020, 2021, 2022, now prevention of disease is 4 times what the army budget was. What does that mean? What drives the economy now is human health, human disease, preventing the humanity from diseases. And this is what is driving the economy, not gold, not petroleum, not this. So it is a crisis, a human crisis of where does this end? What are we going to do? So my study is such, looking at formulas that make us understand economic trends, how far they've left the human element behind and where is the gap.